comes with the countdown. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Uh,
How are you?
I am good. I'm good. We should, as always, is the tradition now is do intros first. You are,
I'm Mark. I'm the creator of Nativewind.
and I am Dan. I am a maintainer of Nativewind and author of, or co-author of Nativewind UI, Create Expo Stack, and soon Plugin Pro.
Lots
So
of this.
today, yeah, this is the state of Nativewind stream. We are every week trying to get more structured with it to waste less of people's time with our ramblings. And today we actually have a list of things to go into. We'll be talking about some of the stuff that the community has surfaced. We'll be talking about React Native Reanimated version 4, which launched today, conveniently. And we'll be talking about version 5 progress for Nativewind, as well as some recent changes to Nativewind UI. I think we can jump right into, oh, and if you have any questions, you can post them in the comments as we go along, and we'll address them, even if you just want to say hi. Which reminds me, I should open up the stream on Twitter. Because we can't see that, the comments, that is, from StreamYard. So, Mark, do you want to go ahead and have you taken a look at this RTL LTR bit
No,
thing for?
I haven't. What are we starting with? We are starting with the an issue. We're talking about
Yeah.
the right to left and left to right doesn't work on the native platforms. Ah, yes. Let me just read through this issue here.
Yeah, this is one of those things where people have been like messaging us about it. And some folks seem to be like, I'm not going to start my project with Nativewind unless this exists. And I'm like,
So
you
this is
might not
very
be.
important for especially like the countries where they have languages that are right to left. And they would have like a language select and they actually need to shift their
Oh, yeah.
layout.
Okay.
So for those types of people, yeah, this is actually like a required feature if they have
Yeah.
like a language select and they need to flip between the two. Um, or so that's like the primary use case that I've seen it for. So yeah, the reservice issue actually looks like kind of mixed. Some people saying it just doesn't work, and some people just say it doesn't work in Expo Go. So for people who are using it in Expo Go, I believe you actually need to set a setting in your app.json to allow right to left and left to right to change. So it's not just locked.
It wouldn't be just a Nativewind thing. You're saying it's like actually an Expo thing.
It could depend. I need to double check this, but yes.
Sounds like we
So
need a guide for this.
yeah, we actually might need a guide for this. Here is
Dan's
some
list
link.
of documentation continues to grow. Also, what's up, Nico? What's up, Ahmad? Thanks for joining us for this one.
Yes, I
Um,
just sent you a link if you want to share it with people.
yeah, in the
Um,
private chat. So post that there. And
so this
this
is
is, go ahead.
assuming these people are using Expo because that's obviously the default. And so in Expo, you need to enable Expo localization for right to left support. And with that localization, you can actually lock right to left or left to right as well. But I believe without this enabled, the React Native will just always it won't actually do this swapping in between. You
Okay.
need to actually explicitly say that you support right to left. Um, that being said, we obviously should test this out to make sure that it's working properly and write some tests. But I do believe we have unit tests for this.
It's
So
not necessarily that it's not working, it's just that we don't have a meaningful guide for it as to how to do it between
yeah,
the Nativewind Expo dynamic, and it's not necessarily obvious going into it that this is how you should do it. So, like I said, I'll just add it to the list of guides to generate. And I think I'll have the priority. I'll go ahead and respond in the comments to have folks try stuff. And but the priority of actually publishing it will probably be relative to, the other stuff and how often that stuff is brought up. But in the meantime, if you're watching this either live or as a recording, then you can go to this link that is shown on the screen, try that out, and then, see if it works for you.
yeah. I also need to double check because I remember React Strict DOM. I think had some actual problems with right to left and left to right support and React Native. I need to see if we have those same issues where I think right to left was not working properly with like transform props. So if you had like right to left and hit said like transform left, it would
Hmm.
swap that to transform right. Like it would swap positional arguments around. Um, should check to see if we've got that same problem or not.
Okay. Um, yeah, I guess that would be something that is looked into as part of the creation of the guide.
Yeah,
Um, okay. So, yeah, if folks still run into the issue after going through that localization guide from Expo, we'll keep it to that issue. Um, and I guess I should post the issue as well, like the link to it, so that if you happen to be running into it while you're watching, you can see uh, here. The link is on screen here. This is the specific issue. And yeah, so if you end up running into the problem, then you can just go there and we'll have it all in that area. Um, so moving on from that one, we have this thing from Herebod and specifically his responding to looks like somebody from Software Mansion. I'll post the link to that in the general because I think Mark, you can just follow it.
yeah, I can just follow it.
Yeah. Um, so one huge shout out to Herebod, by the way. I think he's helping you a lot with the version 5 testing stuff. Um, so yeah, we love Herebod for that. That is he's doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate I can't share like a screenshot of the tweet or whatever, but
Okay. Yeah. So this issue is a bit of a reason why we're still kind of not in public beta, is because we're relying upstream on things from Expo and Reanimated, both of which, well, up until today, were both in Canary releases. So Software Mansion have just released React Native Reanimated for today as stable and ready for production. And Expo are still in Canary support for their support with Reanimated. The reason why these things are a little bit tricky is because under this hood, there's things like Babel plugins and config plugins that need to be aligned. And he's reporting an issue here where the Expo Babel plugin was using an old version from Reanimated v4. So it doesn't
mm,
work. And because we rely on Expo, we need them to update their Canary version now for this to fix the issue for him with the Reanimated. I was actually kind of aware of this issue because I've worked around it by just not using the Expo stuff while they're working on it. Um, but it looks like that the PR was actually merged in just before the reanimated release, where they
So this
alias.
so this comment would be probably before that happened
Yeah,
because yeah.
or at least before they merged in this PR, and then I'm assuming this will get released in the next 24 hours, and then Expo will update their canary in the next 24 hours as well.
This should not be a concern, ideally,
No,
24 hours from now.
no, it should not be.
Okay.
As long as everyone updates the canary versions, it should be fine. But again, these are the little teething
Yeah.
issues that we're still having with, and why we're not quite in public release yet, because we're just running into these little things.
I
But
cannot
everyone is racing
imagine.
towards
Yeah.
stable, so it's getting good.
Yeah, I can't imagine this isn't gonna stop anytime soon necessarily either. I think this is probably gonna be like the nature of things for a little bit
Uh,
before.
this is just the nature of major releases and
Mhm.
coordinating multiple major releases between different companies. Each company has to react a little bit, but Expo had great support for Reanimated 2 and 3 for a very long time. So once all this is all sorted out, it should be stable for a long time. But this also does underpin that we rely a lot on Expo now, especially for their Metro config and things like that. Um, so yeah, we just need to wait for these new Canary versions. I think. Let me actually just double check what these releases are like for Expo on the SDK. They're still in Canary. Yeah, still in Canary. So this is Expo SDK 54. So this is the version of the Expo SDK that Nativewind version 5 will support.
Mhm.
It's in early Canary with Expo. I don't think a release date has been planned, even internally for it. But there are canaries available on npm for it. So that's what
So if
we.
you're willing to mess around, you can.
Yeah, it's still pretty rough at the moment, but you can. It is kind of there. But we're hoping by. I said this last week, but this week, but another week, like it's everything's kind of just there. Everything's almost stable. Like things like this Babel plugin, other big blockers at the moment.
Well, that's why I like having these like once a week, because I think without these, you're sort of left hanging as someone who isn't in the know of these different like,
Yeah,
if you're not checking GitHub every single day to see where the conversation is at or what has or hasn't been done, then like no, like having these week to week makes it a lot easier to just be like, okay, like it's probably going to be another week or something, or it's going to be, here, and here's why more specifically, like we are moving
yeah.
closer to it. Also, what's up, Leonard? Leonard actually was one of the folks that reached out about that. He was the one that mentioned the jest thing from
Yep,
last week. You remember? Um,
yep.
and what was it that we said about that? I think you had mentioned that you were working on a new test suite using Maestro, or did you move away from Maestro?
I'm still using Jest and I'm using Maestro as well
Okay.
because they're different libraries for different things. But V5 will have a new kind of testing library to how it works. Uh, Testing at the moment is a little bit iffy as well because Reanimated V4. Maybe if I fix this with the stable release, but it was not working in Jest through all the canaries and nightlies. So that's my first thing to actually test today after this call, whether the stable reanimated actually works inside Jest. Um, we'll see if it does. I might
Yeah,
have
because I
to
think
pick them
Leonard's
up.
whole thing, he had just joined a company and, they're going to do Nativewind for their application, but they had a suite of tests that they wanted to run against, I guess, the utility classes that they had written and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and just make sure that when they make changes that Jest can detect whether those changes affect any of the utility classes in place. And I don't recall. I know we have an extensive test suite internally for all the mappings and things like that. And that's going to continue into version 5 or I guess for React Native CSS specifically. Um, but what is the experience meant to be for folks testing externally their own utility classes?
Yeah, so in V5, um, the, what we expose publicly, like the public APIs, is a lot more fine grained. Um, so one of the things we do now, or we will be doing, is actually exposing the compiler to people. So if you want to test whether a certain class name or CSS compiles in a certain way, you can actually just test the compilation of that CSS. So you don't have to run it as like a React component. Like you can just say, if I have this CSS block or this class name, how does that compile? And you can actually just diff that, and that's just like JSON. Like that's just an object, and so it's very easy to write tests for that. Um,
Hmm.
if you then want to then test like functionality, we now also expose a hook use CSS element where you can actually just use the hooks testing library and test against that as well. So before, testing was quite difficult because you had to set up all the JSX transforms and set up all the components and things like that. There was a lot of like layers that you'd have to manually set up that we were automatic in a normal application we would set up for you via the Babel plugin or the Metro plugin. But then when Jest came along, it was up to you to do that yourself. Now you don't have to go through those hoops because we expose a lot more of the primitives, so you can kind of choose where you want to test from. So you can choose that. Yes, I want to just test how my CSS is compiling, or how I want to test using the hook component, so I don't have to use the JSX transform.
Yeah, and then so as far as testing something along those lines, that's probably going to be with the release, the beta release, sort of a version 5. You'll be able
Yeah.
to start playing around with that. And hopefully that
Problem
is
is we're not
next
going to have
week. We'll see.
documentation on that
Yeah.
from the get go, but we're putting it as public APIs because we want people to use it. So the documentation will come on these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and then I want to make sure that I'm not like skipping Ahmed's note about he has a question about like animation with reanimated v4 and like what that experience would be like. That's probably going to be part of the reanimated v4 kind of dig in. Um, and Nico actually, yeah, he did make a contribution to RN dash new. I think I merged one of them and then there's like another one or something. So I appreciate you doing that. It's gotten me actually going back and making some changes to RN new. Which I guess there'll be more coming with version 5 of Nativewind. Um, yeah, so yeah, Leonard, we'll definitely I'll ping you in a Twitter DM or whatever when I think like you can start messing around with stuff, but otherwise just watch for the release. The it won't be a release, it'll just be like a brand or like a, a version you can tag, I imagine, right? In your like get this specific version of Nativewind. Um,
Yeah.
but it won't be like a proper release, I don't think. Um,
Not just yet. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. So then, yeah, the next topic, I guess, is the version.
So was there a
Yeah,
question there about reanimated and web animations? Was there a question or something?
I'm trying to understand exactly what the question is. It seems to be like, can you use Nativewind classes to define reanimated animations, if I understand correctly? And if so, that's kind of like what we've been doing to date, but
Yeah.
yeah, but the intention
So
is
the
to
big
use go ahead.
difference here is we always want to translate CSS into React Native code, whether that is styling or animations as well. And so previously, we wrote our own animation engine on top of Reanimated that could accept CSS, and we would convert it into our like native metadata and then put that into our animation engine, and that's what powered the animations. in Reanimated version 4, the biggest difference now is they now accept a CSS like interface to power animations. So they have a thing like animation name that accepts things like keyframes, and they accept all the other CSS properties as well. So our animation engine that we were previously using is now redundant because we can actually just feed that the CSS, basically just change it from a CSS string into an object form and give that to Reanimated, and it can then actually run the animations. The big thing here is that Reanimated are a much better team at making animation engines than I am. So their animation engine is way better than the one that we were using before and has a lot more features that we didn't have before, especially for running multiple animations on the same time on the same component. Like if you've got an animation that like spins and flips, like we didn't handle that before. We would just pick the first one, but Reanimated will actually run two animations at the same time. And you can do things like different timings. Everything that you can do on the web with animations works in Reanimated now. So we're stripping out our polyfill essentially that we wrote, and we're just using Reanimated directly.
But it's really great, like for end user folks, because it means that effectively all of the animation tooling that you're familiar with and used to on like for Tailwind, right, alone is now possible in React Native as well. Um, Maybe some slight adjustments needed, but for the most part, like it's almost one to one, right?
Yeah, it's very close. The hard part here is that we need to add in the extra concepts that we support. So basically, CSS variables.
Hmm.
So what happens when you have an animation that uses a CSS variable? So we are just now adding that layer on top of Reanimated. Um, so there is a limitation. Um, you cannot train it cause a. Sorry, let me pick my words here. Um, on the web, you can actually have a CSS animation that changes a variable. So, say a variable goes to this value from this value,
Hmm.
or from this value too. We don't support that, but we do support using a variable as a value. So, if you say background color is this variable, and I want it to go from this variable to this other variable, we support that. So that allows you to use like animations and transitions nicely with all your Tailwind theming, which now uses CSS variables. But we don't allow the actual animating of a CSS variable.
Hmm. Okay. Probably a good thing to explain via a guide or documentation
Yeah, it's going to be in the
yeah,
documentation once
yeah.
we've got it. Yeah,
So I'll make sure to be very detailed about, and ideally you'll probably good opportunity to provide an example of that difference. So
yeah.
um Nico, as
It is
far as
something
your
that
question,
I might
yeah,
think about doing in the future. Like it might be a future thing. It is possible. It's just a lot of work. Um, so maybe
yeah,
one time.
yeah. The Nico, pertaining to your question regarding ship a ton, I don't even know what that is. So you're welcome to provide a link. But
What's the new Oktoberfest thing
what
by
it, oh,
a new company. It's like a like Hacktoberfest where if you
where you
do
like make a contribution to an open source library and you get a t-shirt type of situation?
I think so by a different company. I forget who it is. Revenue
Everyone's
Cat. Yeah, I haven't actually read too much about this. I just saw that they announced it a couple of weeks
okay.
ago. I think it was, but I haven't
Yeah, I
looked
mean,
into it yet.
I can certainly take a look. Um, but I have not heard anything about it myself. So, um,
But I think
yeah, hackathon. Okay.
yeah, part of it is you have to integrate the Revenue Cat SDK into an app
Well,
or something.
fortunately, so funny story. I don't know if you remember this, but after I did like Create Expo Stack RN New, which is the free version, I had shipped a like a paid variant of that, which was just more opinionated. That actually had Revenue Cat in it, and we still have all of that. So I don't know. Well, I'll take a look at it, but I need to know a bit more before pushing forward there. I have approached some of the like hackathons that have been happening and like been giving them deals on some stuff though. But yeah, anyways, I'll take a look at that, Nico, and we can follow up next week about what ended up happening. Um, so then as far as version 5 itself, any major progress updates you want to go into?
One thing I do want to talk about, it has been raised about dark mode in
Mhm.
Tailwind v4, and that dark mode was always a bit of a weird thing with Tailwind, where it was like enabled via the config, and you had like media mode or class mode.
Mhm.
Um, and it was definitely like their kind of like hacky theme system that they kind of implemented in. Um, and with Tailwind v4, a lot of the theming plugins have gone away because you don't actually need them anymore because you can just use normal CSS classes for your theming. And even Tailwind v4 has kind of like gone back on their support for dark mode. It's like this opt-in thing. And so a conversation's been had over Nativewind support for dark mode and how we treat it. Because
As a
we,
class, you mean? Or do you mean not
yes,
necessarily
well,
as a
it's a little bit complicated because there's two ways to do dark mode. There is device, and then there's class, and then there's also a third way of like how websites typically implement it, which is like a toggle switch with three
yes.
states, being
Yes.
light, dark, system.
And there's a fourth concern that's like it's like almost a 4, which is persisting that
Yes,
selection.
but I
Yeah.
won't go into
Yeah,
persistence
yeah, yeah.
because
No, I'm just
that's
saying
not
that there is
something
a
we cover.
fourth technically.
Um, so previously in Nativewind, if you're using media queries, we just use the device media query and we didn't change anything there. However, if you use class mode, what we actually did was actually switch you over into this three state system where you have light, dark, and system.
Mhm.
And I don't think we kind of documented it, but never really documented it too well. That if you use set color scheme, we actually followed the React Native set color scheme. So you could pass in light, dark, or null. And if you use null, it just went to you fell out of our controlled system and went back to the system colors. And so it actually became like this kind of like confusing of like,
I was
am
gonna say
I
that's
in
that's
a
a
controlled
clunky
or
way of
uncontrolled?
yeah.
Yeah. But it's also how React Native works. Like that's how the appearance module in React Native works. You can pass in set color scheme, light, dark, or null. It's a three state system. But I think it ends up being a bit clunky. And someone raised that maybe we should avoid doing this. Like while we're doing all these breaking changes, maybe this is a good time that we should shy away and take out this three state system. Because now you can actually just do it yourself. Like if you want that three state system, you can just manually add the dark mode class onto your root view and create dark mode that way. Like if you want class mode, we don't actually, maybe we shouldn't secretly control that behind the scenes. Like you should just do it yourself.
I
It also
think
became a bit confusing because it made dark, the class name dark, this special magical class name
mhm.
that had extra functionality. But suddenly now just having that the class there enabled dark mode, while maybe that's not something we want. Maybe we just actually want it to be a normal class selector.
I think that okay, I have thoughts as someone who like my perspective walking into this is that I came in a lot of people their initial complaints like there were like 3 big topics and one of them was this like dark light mode thing. And so it was one of the first guides I ever like jumped into to like make sense of heads or tails. And even looking at the Tailwind one, it's pretty confusing. Like it it's not great in my opinion. And so then when looking at the Nativewind one, and it introduced like the React Native component to it, right? Um, Beyond making just a single document that makes sense, I think the actual thing that was coming through in the feedback from the users is that they want one way to handle this. I
Yeah,
think it's nice to be able to offer people different ways to do things, but I actually think it ends up hurting more than helping, especially when it comes to something like this, because at the end of the day, no one's concern, no one's modus operandi should be, how am I going to go about implementing dark light mode? It's like, this is something I'm trying to offer, and the most I want to think about is whether I want people to manually handle that or if I want it to be system defined, right?
yeah,
And that is the only decision that you should be making with respect to dark mode. It's not a feature. It's just like, go think about something else. Your app's purpose is not that. And Nativewind should make that easy. And as far as the issue with the current approach, because the document, the doc that I wrote up for how to handle this, the primary concern I have with it is that hook is really nice. The what is it? Use system
yeah,
color or something like that.
yeah.
Um,
But there's a React Native hook that does exactly the same thing as well.
right, but I'm talking about the React Native one.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Even
yeah,
like you can't change things. Like it's a read only hook. You can't set things with it. And if you want to set things with it, you have to do some nonsense. And so I provided the examples, right? Both inline, like the documentation, as well as a separate repo. Um, and that's the only way it is clear. And so it's like if you just want to read it and you want to read from the system, like whatever the user has defined as dark light or dark mode, light mode, it's easy. Just use that hook. Don't think about it. However, if you want to set it manually, and then especially if you want to persist it, here's all this addition. You have to go about it a completely different way.
yeah,
And that's not good. Like that needs to be centralized in a single uniform. If it's going to be a hook, great. Just make it one hook where you can do a set color or set theme, whatever it is, and then one where you can read what the current value is. Um, I think if we can do that and just explain that, okay, if you want to persist it, go use these libraries, your favorite whatever one to do it. I think that's great. I don't think that people are going to be concerned about it. So
yeah. I still I don't want to get into persistence because that moves us away from being
sure, sure,
um,
yeah,
CSS and more into like local storage support. I think that could be like a Nativewind UI feature,
yeah,
but I think that like the Tailwind V4 docs for dark mode are hugely simplified over kind of what they were before, and I think yeah we should just kind of get rid of our manual selection of what we used to do. So a big change as well is um, haven't talked about this much, but before we didn't really support Descendant selectors. So this is where you do like dot class name space dot class name,
hmm,
and so in Nativewind v4 we only supported that for the dot group. Like if you said dot group space dot my class, we supported that because that was Tailwind syntax. And then we supported dot dark space class because that was also Tailwind syntax. But there were the two exceptions to the rule. We didn't support that for anything else. In the new version, because we're just trying to parse the CSS directly, we actually support that. We actually support like dot my custom dark class space text red 500 and being able to customize that for your custom themes. And so that's how you're going to use theming in the new system now, in the same way that you do it in CSS. Like you have a top level class name like dot theme jungle or something. and then that will then set the CSS variables for everything else underneath it.
Mhm.
Or if you just wanted to write it in the traditional way with the Descendant selector, you can. And because we now support the Descendant selector, it kind of we don't need this manual handling of the dark mode. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't need to be special anymore. It could just be just another class name with a Descendant selector. Um,
I mean, I like the system Tailwind offers. We use it for Nativewind UI's website and all that stuff. I think the only thing I care about for Nativewind is that there's one way to do it. I don't
yeah,
like the concept of here's three different ways to do this. Like we offer
yeah,
you three different no, like we offer you one way to do this, and this is the best way. And you're coming to us for this opinionated take on how to do these things, and ideally one that matches what you're already familiar with, right? Um, like the Tailwind approach. What currently we differ from that. I'm fine. I think it's a chill idea to match up with how Tailwind generally does it, but I think that it's not something that we should like there's different versions of completion for that. It's like there is a very clear like this is completely done where a person can read and write to it. Um and only then should it be like see the light of day and only with the proper documentation. Because otherwise people get so confused by this stuff and pissed off, rightfully so, because they're just kind of like, how do I do this? So
yeah. So I think we'll still keep the hook, but the hook will just be. I mean, it was already an alias uh, for the native functions, but yeah, we'll just kind of take our handling internally. Or this probably won't really have a big effect on end users. The breaking change would just be that if they want to have dark mode and they're using the class name version, they will have to manually set the dark class themselves. You just can't
yeah.
call set color scheme dark and everything will go dark. They will need to have like their own React context that then sets that class name when they want to switch to dark mode, or just use the hook in their top level component, like use color scheme and then apply the dark class when that hook returns back dark. So we'll just update the docs on it and include it in the migration guide. But it saves us internally a lot of
Yeah.
code and handling. And I think it maybe makes things more simpler. And more importantly, it allows people to understand how they can build their own custom themes moving forward as well. So,
Yeah. That's another thing I want to get into, like making simpler. A lot of folks, especially who come from like a design perspective,
yeah,
I want to make sure for them that Native Wind is a smooth transition as well, and like a meaningful language, like a translation, uh, what between like the engineers and the designers. It's
yeah,
like a way for designers to express what they mean to the engineers. So I would say that's a pretty big component of the value that like Native Wind UI provides as an example, is it's just like we feel it should be done this way. Here is that kind of thing. And so you can like play around with that as a designer then to your heart's content. Um yeah. So beyond the dark mode stuff, any like version 5 stuff you wanted to surface?
no, that's kind of. I'll just look into ripping out that stuff, and then we'll have the new nightly for it. Um, and we'll have to also add in the migration guide all the new styles that we support. That's one
Yeah.
thing I forgot to include of all the new new features, all the new styling stuff. That's included
Well, and
there. So
the stuff that's going away as well, because I think that that's gonna be
we're
confusing
not
for some
taking
people. What
too
about
much
the
away. We
that's what I mean though, is like the shadow related stuff that's changing.
yes, yeah, we'll have to
That can
document. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean your shadows would
Um,
now work properly.
I think that that's currently documented in the migration guide. Uh,
Yeah,
but maybe worth a revisit. Yeah, and then again, for anyone who's not aware, there is on our blog. which is at nativewind.dev/blog. I think the latest article is a preemptive migration guide from version 4 to version 5. Yeah. Any update on the JSX transform stuff?
Oh, actually, yes. Big update there. Sorry. Sometimes I
No,
forget what I'm
it's chill.
talking about.
It's the
No,
biggest
no, no.
component, I would say, of it all.
Yeah, no, I just realized that you were trying to lead me because I was talking to you about this in the week. Yes. So before we were doing the JSX, we replaced the JSX transform with a Babel transform, um, where instead of using JSX to convert text and view components to our special components, we had we were moving to a Babel transform to do this. So this is how libraries like React Native Web work. So React Native Web rewrites your imports from React Native to React Native Web. And we were simply just going to adopt that approach and change things from React Native or React Native Web to our React Native CSS package. We will still have that as an option, but we've got a new, more improved way of doing this instead. So for people who are using Metro, which are all React Native users and Expo for web users, you won't need this Babel plugin anymore. We're actually configuring Metro instead uh, to do this import rewriting for us. So for these users, there's just going to be one less setup step. That's all it is. It just means if you're starting up a new project, all what you'll need to do now is actually just add the with Nativewind wrapper around your Metro config. There's no extra Babel plugin or things like that you need to add, and it should just work out of the box for you.
My dream of a CLI command that automatically sets up Nativewind for you is getting
I
closer
mean,
by the
we are
day.
getting closer and closer because, yeah, that that is automatable. Being able to actually just wrap the return of a Metro config and set up Tailwind for you. Yes, we are getting closer and closer to our automated setup. The Babel plugin will still exist though for people who don't use Metro. So this would be people who are using like the one framework, who are using Vite, Next.js users for web, or other Vite users for web. Because you're not using Metro as your bundler, we'll still support a Babel plugin for the import rewrites there.
Yeah. So one question we have here from Nico. Also, hello, Casey, if you're still there. Casey is a friend of mine and he likes to mess around. Um, so so Nico's asking basically on an ETA for RN new, aka create Expo stack, as far as the Nativewind templates for
Oh
version
yeah, we should
5.
actually do a Canary
I was gonna say like an
create
at next
Expo
at
stack.
Canary or something. So the only trick there is that if I would probably be a little bit more like risk tolerant if rn-new wasn't the recommended way that people get started with things like Nativewind UI, right? So effectively, when I am playing around with Nativewind templates for rn-new, I just need to make sure that they translate well for Nativewind UI. And I think though, yeah, like Mark, to what you're saying, like we can create a Canary next whatever version of
Yeah,
that people can run explicitly to try the version 5 stuff and just sort of like immediately throw themselves into the environment. Um, yeah, but you'll have to understand that that's like again like a beta effectively. But it'll be set up
yeah,
at least the way that we recommend that it should be set up. Um, and so yeah, but as far as why things don't make it into like main, like why it isn't like immediately the default for Nativewind, it's because like when we set up the template, like the blank template, say for the Nativewind UI setup, uh, its first thing that it runs is like set up the Nativewind one, and then it starts to build on top of that, right? So it ends up affecting like whatever downstream, upstream, whatever the proper word is, other things. So I just want to make sure those are good. Um, but yeah, happy to do a canary one because then we can explicitly not have it affect it upstream because it's just going to use the latest version instead. Also, huge shout out to Danny. What's up? Maintainer of Create Expo Stack, RN New. Legend also maintains Storybook, React Native Storybook JS, which you should totally check out. Yeah. So sorry, that was like a side tangent to what we were talking about before, but happy to do the
Storybook's
native
actually
one.
interesting. I was thinking about that because I've been doing React Native Storybook for some stuff recently. Um, I wonder if we also need a setup guide for Storybook for Nativewind in the integrations, so people can
We
actually have
should.
their components.
I Danny recently actually God, was it? I think it was a Nativewind PR for the Vite configuration.
Okay.
So that people wouldn't get all messed up with what's up, Andrea? So yeah, so that people wouldn't get messed up in, I think, configuring Storybook. Yeah, so he has
hmm
like there was like a whole issue thread about it. He has a whole like thing on that and probably a lot of thoughts regarding it. So we definitely could set up uh like a sample project or a template or something. Um
Just having some docs on it and help people
yeah,
there. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if we would necessarily put it in Create Expo Stack. I guess we could talk about that, but like at the very least, it should be its own like just like one-off boilerplate repo or something that you can take a look at.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Danny and I will chat about that and we can figure that out. So um yeah. Uh Other version 5 things to be concerned about?
Uh, no, I think that's kind of it. We just need to
There's
test
the
out this new
branch.
stable release. Oh yeah, there's a branch there.
Yeah.
Um, but
It's
most of the
relatively
work
empty.
is in a different repo. So
Yeah.
for people who aren't aware, V5 is very empty as a branch because most of this is now we don't have special things for Tailwind. That's the big thing behind this release. We're dropping a lot of like the plugin support or the special logic that we had, and we're just moving into normal CSS parsing. And so there's actually a different repo called React Native CSS where all the development is taking place. So if you switch over to that repo, that's where you'll be able to see all the commits happening.
Um Yeah, so if you don't mind, I can jump into the Nativewind UI updates.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's cool.
so I recently went through, and by recently I mean literally yesterday, I was smashing my head against the keyboard, getting sprucing up the CLI experience. So I like it now a lot better. Those improvements are still coming for various parts of the experience, but usage is much more clear now. Yeah, just the whole look and feel of it. I'm actually taking a lot of inspiration from Claude Code and that experience. Um, so that's better. Authentication issues with the CLI have largely been addressed, and there's just one more that I'm ironing out. Very niche edge case kind of thing. The companion app is out on iOS, so you can scan QR codes on the website. I think I'd mentioned this last week, but yeah, so now you can actually see those experiences on your device. Um, oh, Danny, so the PR that we merged, he was curious when that actually gets released for Nativewind. We haven't done a release for Nativewind in a
Okay.
minute.
We should release that. Yeah.
We can do that today.
Yeah, we can do that today.
I think there was something weird with the tests, but that's I think the only thing
Oh,
standing in the
yeah. I'll
way.
have a double check on what's happening there.
Yeah, so we'll try to do that today. I can also smash my head against it for a little bit. Um, but yeah, so with Nativewind UI, then further, we have changed the pricing structure for it, um, in the sense that it's now fully recurring. Um, that's done for a number of different reasons. When I originally like set it all up, took a lot of inspiration from this like once.com thing, which is this whole ethos by DHH about charging once. like it was back in the day, but like in the year that I've been doing this with Zach and everyone else involved, it's occurred to me that the React Native ecosystem is actually really difficult to have that be a thing because it's so ever changing. And occasionally Apple steps in and decides new year, new me kind of thing. And now you have to update that. And this is before you even get to the support for the product itself. So Zach and I had a discussion about it, and the price is going to be meant to reflect the experience, which that hasn't really changed much. The recurring element of that price is more so like a let us worry about keeping up with the React Native ecosystem so you don't have to. Um, so we'll see how this goes. It's always an ever-changing thing, but it was very difficult for us to justify providing the level of support, both in technical and in like customer kind of stuff, uh, given the pass model. So, but everyone who has purchased it to date, like everyone there is grandfathered in. No concerns there whatsoever. No one's getting like bumped up to a different plan. So, yeah, huge thank you to everyone who has supported. Like literally, that is the money. That money has gone to like upgrading the Nativewind docs and all of the effort that has gone to making Nativewind an increasingly solid and like perfect experience in the way of styling. Like, you know. So, um, next, liquid glass. That's going to be like the big next thing. We're shifting to Expo UI's primitives. We've largely done that, um, which are great. You should check them out. They've put a lot of effort and attention into that, and I think there's only going to be more. So that also means that our components will soon be free, with a heavier emphasis on the templates being the paid experience. So you'll start to see more free templates, more paid templates. Um, yeah, and that'll be in the coming months here. So, but we're we're pretty interested to see how things with liquid glass play out. That's gonna be the
I
fun
think
one.
everyone is. Yeah.
Yeah. So so yeah, we're playing around with it. We welcome all feedback, and just know that if you buy it now, yes, we will support it. Um and yeah, that's I think that's the bulk of the Nativewind UI update. Um
Yeah. With the liquid glass stuff, I'm expecting new props to appear as well.
yeah,
Um,
like
like
what?
more blur control or stuff like that. Like I wonder if there's gonna be like more tint color type sort of things. If there is, then we're going to add in class names or properties to help support those properties as well. So, for example, like on an image, you can set like a tint color and it'll change the color of that image slightly as a filter. I think something might exist for that with liquid glass. We'll have to see when the actual beta becomes available for people to start really playing around with it, see what exists, and then we'll adapt or add new class names as needed for it.
Yeah, and shout out to, you know, Evan for presumably prioritizing that with respect to Expo router stuff, and more specifically Nishon for you know, making the doing the Lord's work, contributing to React Native itself to support the foundational stuff that's going to empower all of that.
Yeah, and there's also another person at Expo, a new person, Jacob, who's actually doing all the new support for like the new tabs and things like that. So the new
Like the
React
bottom
Native,
tab, you mean?
yeah, so React Native screens just came out with the new native tabs,
Mhm.
and so like adding support for that into router and switching over the tabs into this like bottom tabs experience so that you get the liquid glass tabs when they get released.
That's sick. I hope he's coming to Poland then for React
He's
Native Universe.
he lives in Poland. He's a
My
yeah.
God, dude, this is
He'll be there. Poland and React Native. Yes,
dude, that I
it's a
didn't
meme.
realize how on point I was with that meme, like whatever 2 years ago or plus that I made with the Luke Skywalker with Yoda on his back, and it's just Poland, but like React Native is on his
Yeah,
back. They carry this ecosystem.
they do. Yeah.
Okay, so we've gone through Nativewind UI updates. We have some to-do items. Danny and I will chat on the storybook stuff. Mark, you're gonna take a look at releasing a patch version? Would it be a minor version given all the things
It'd
that
be
have
a
accumulated?
patch.
Patch
I think
still.
it is. Yeah. I don't think there's any being. Maybe we'll do a minor. Probably best to do a minor.
Yeah. Yeah. So then that would be a 4.2.0 at
Yeah.
this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have that, and then we'll touch base next week on the status of version 5.
Hmm.
Maybe we'll have by that point a Canary variant from rn-new where you can try Nativewind version 5 configured as we suggest.
Yep.
Um, but again, see it as Canary. It is not meant to be like it's gonna maybe break in some places. So um yeah, and then what else do we have with I'm fighting getting more time on the guides for Nativewind. It is difficult given the contributions that I've been making to Nativewind UI and Plugin Pro. I will do a minor thing here of like Yatsik of Unistyles and I are working on a new tool to drastically improve the config plugins, the Expo config plugins experience, and that will be more broadly announced later this week. And there's also some discussion of a Uniwind library, an MVP for that.
Maybe eventually. Yeah.
Yeah,
When we finally get
so
our V5, I'd like to actually try and test that out and see how that
yeah,
goes.
yeah. So we're
Or
gonna talk about it
try
at
the
what is
worklets approach and see how that
yeah.
goes as well.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it at React Universe. Maybe we can lure Mark out to React Universe away from his
When is that?
family. It's like September.
Maybe.
Um, yeah, so we'll see. But that's like an MVP for that would be a really cool accomplishment. I just remember
Yeah.
waking up this morning and he was like, "Oh yeah, people really want this Uniwin thing," and I'm like, we could do it theoretically, like, and he's like, "Yeah, we could," and so we'll see what plays out there. Um, but yeah, so apparently Danny's also going to be at React Universe. We should probably just go.
Maybe.
Mark, I'm going to keep egging you on about this, just like till you decide to fly the 20 hours it is to Poland.
20. It's more than 20.
Is it?
Yeah, it's more than 20.
Oh God, I'll buy you like an in-flight movie or something or a meal.
Yeah. By the time you like put in changes, I think it adds up to be about 30 hours.
Oh,
So
that's so awful.
yep.
Oh God. Okay. All right. Well, all right. I think that's all the updates. I can't think of any others. So unless folks drop some questions in the comments, I think we'll see y'all next week. Thanks for joining. Um, yeah, and then we'll have another gaming stream, I think, on July 31st. That's the only other thing I wanted to put on people's radars. The last one was pretty fun. Thanks to everyone else who showed up. All right.
All
No
right. We'll see you
questions.
guys
We'll
next
see you
week.
next week.
All right. Catch up.